All right, let's do this. Gonna put a little title in here. How to stop blowing your diet every weekend. Sorry, I'm a little slow for those of you who are watching this recorded technology. Super fun for me. Anyways, let's do the damn thing. We are live on Facebook in 3, 2, 1. I think we're live. Hello, everybody. Happy Friday, Junior. Happy beautiful second, I suppose, day of me being 37. So yesterday was my birthday. If you don't know, now you know. Rocking this amazing shirt that I just got in the mail last week, Girls Who Eat, which is like the motto. I found it on Instagram. You can only get them made in like limited quantities by this gal that I follow on the internet. So if you need the details, just DM me and I'll let you know what you need to know. But I wanted to dive into this week's topic of conversation, which is all about the weekends being something that tends to get in people's way when they're trying to make progress towards their weight loss goals, their health and fitness goals, their physique goals, whatever it is, right? Whether you want to look better, feel better, perform better, odds are you feel like gung-ho, you're ready to crush it come Monday morning. And odds are also pretty likely that by the time you get through the week, you sort of fizzled out, and all of a sudden, all of that motivation that you had at the beginning of the week, all the discipline that maybe you were buckled down with for a few days, it dissipates the closer and closer you get to the weekend. And before you know it, the wheels just totally fall off. So we're going to break down some of the things that I see about why people ruin their progress over the weekend. We're going to talk about some strategies to overcome that. And of course, if you happen to be watching this, like, give it a like, drop a comment. If you have any questions while I'm recording this, please let me know so I can answer those for you. And if you're watching the replay, will you please comment replay? And I still want you to like this post so that you can boost it up at the top of the group so that people can be watching it. You want it to be one of the first things that they see because it's probably something that is very interesting to a lot of people because a lot of people are doing this. And I used to be one of those people. So I'm not going to say that it never happens. It certainly does, but I have a much better handle on it now. And I love helping other people figure out how to have a handle on this for themselves because, again, it's a very, very common scenario that we see play out time and time again. So if this happens to you, don't worry, you're not alone, okay? So first off, let's talk about reasons why people ruin their diets over the weekends. So I got my little notes here because that helps me stay on track a little bit better. Otherwise, you guys know I go off on a tangent. So let's dive into it. So some of the reasons why we see people ruining their diet or their protocols or whatever that looks like for them over the weekends is that they have a lack of planning and preparation. So if you don't have things like healthy food options readily available for you, that can oftentimes lead to making an unhealthy choice or a less than optimal choice simply because those unhealthy or less than optimal choices tend to be more readily available, right? I would venture to guess that most of you are more likely to have something like chips or crackers or cookies or candy bars or even protein bars, which are really just glorified protein bars, which are really glorified candy bars. You likely have those things readily available because those are like non-perishable items. But it's probably a lot less likely that you have things available like some lean protein options like chicken, beef, turkey, shrimp, or some great fruit and vegetable options like carrots, broccoli, asparagus, Brussels sprouts, berries, bananas. Like, you probably are a lot less likely to have those quote unquote healthier foods available over the weekends. Maybe you start off with enough ready to go at the beginning of the week because you do an awesome food prep, but maybe that food prep is a little bit boring to you by the time the weekend rolls around. And maybe you're like, well, I did so great, which is a whole other category that you're like, well, I don't want to eat those things or I'm bored of those things. So that's one of the big things we see is just a lack of planning and preparation. So I'm going to give you a tip right now on how to overcome that. If you are somebody who is not planned and prepared with foods ready to go for the weekend, you have the power of changing that, right? So one of the strategies is to just eat as similarly as possible on the weekends as you do during the week. So I post about this a lot, where my breakfast 7 days a week is my breakfast 7 days a week. About 9 times out of 10, you can count on the fact that I am going to be having my big ass bowl of cauliflower oats. So that is some sort of a composition of 1 to 2 packs of oatmeal, 1 to 2 or more servings of rice cauliflower with my cinnamon, with my Walden Farms maple syrup, with at least 4 to 5 servings of egg whites and berries, and maybe even some banana. And of course, I'm making it different, but dependent upon what I need for my calorie intake. So I'm always switching it up with, maybe I want to add in some cookie butter or some powdered peanut butter or some delicious Trader Joe's cinnamon spread. Like, there's so many different ways to tweak that meal, but overall, I'm having the same type of breakfast almost 7 days a week. I will say today, I deterred a little bit. I had something different because I'm like, we need to go through some of the food in the fridge right now. So I had avocado toast with a regular egg. I had Southwest egg beaters scrambled up with some spinach, and I had some mashed potatoes. Like, that was my breakfast this morning. Oh, and some turkey sausages, because again, I had foods I needed to get rid of, but most other days I'm having my big ass bowl of oats. So that can be one of the strategies. You're having similar breakfasts and lunches, perhaps 7 days a week. Like, whatever your breakfast and dinner looks like during the week, it can look close to, if not the same as that, on the weekends. And then maybe you're giving yourself a little bit more flexibility because maybe you're having an untracked meal for dinner. Maybe you've got a social event or something. That's fine. You can still do those things, but just because you've got one event going on that night, or just because you're going to brunch that day, it doesn't mean that the rest of your meals should look dramatically different than what you're eating during the week. That helps you to achieve your goals in the first place. So take it back to just, again, having pretty similar meals throughout the week and the weekend, with, you know, a couple things that might be different because of some sort of social expectations, right? Another reason why we see people ruining their weekends: social pressures, right? So this ties into the last one where, you know, we talk about going out to eat or you're going to the social events, and typically those can involve foods that are not usually a part of your day-to-day diet. So if that's the case, this again falls back to what I was just talking about with, cool, allow yourself to have something different at those events, but allow the rest of your day to be more similar to what you're doing Monday through Friday when you're on point. And if you're attending an event, let's say it's like, you know, we just had the Super Bowl. So maybe it's a Super Bowl party, or maybe it's like a potluck at work or something, or maybe it's just like a girls' night, whatever. Can you be the one who brings the healthier dish, the healthier option? I see this a lot with clients where they have zero problems being the person who brings the veggie tray or the fruit salad, right? They can bring fruit kebabs. They can bring maybe meatballs, right? You can bring those other quote unquote healthier options to events in a lot of these circumstances. Or guess what? You can learn how to just choose the healthier option when you're taking part in those events, right? There's oftentimes a variety of options for you in a social event. And just because, you know, you're going out to dinner with your friends and everybody else is eating XYZ doesn't mean you can't eat ABC, right? Just because your friends are maybe having a burger and fries and like mozzarella sticks doesn't mean that you can't have a side salad. Maybe this is what I did when I went to dinner with my husband the other day. We had burgers at a little local dive bar. Guess what I had? I had a burger, but I only ate one half of the bun. I didn't eat the other half. That was just a way of saving a few calories because I wanted some of the bun. It's delicious, but I didn't need the whole thing, okay? You can have a side salad instead of the fries. That's what I did. You can skip the appetizer, or you could order potentially something that would be a quote unquote better appetizer, if you will. Maybe it's having, you know, the celery and carrot sticks from the chicken wings that somebody orders, or hell, even have the chicken wings. They're not the worst thing in the world for you. At least you'll get some protein there. And they're not going to be as quote unquote bad for you. I know I keep saying that a lot. I'm annoying myself as having the basket of fries, right? Because again, at least you're getting some protein and perhaps you're getting some veggies from having some celery and carrots there. So we can make those better choices when we're going out to eat. Just because we're going out to eat or in a social gathering doesn't mean we have to eat like an asshole. We can always choose the better option. If I were to place a basket of fries and a side salad in front of you, I know you could make that healthier choice. You know which one is going to give you better quality foods as well as better quality calories, and also make you just not feel like crap afterwards, okay? So the next reason why we see people ruining their diets over the weekends, they have more of a relaxed attitude. So they're sort of wanting to relax the rules that they had for themselves throughout the week. So that can be a problem, right? Because I don't want you to think about this, you guys. With everything that we're talking about here, when it comes to the weekends, let's say your weekend starts Friday night and rolls through Sunday. That's a good third of your week. That is like 2 1/3 days out of 7 days. So, well, like that right there is over 30% of the results that you were leaving on the floor if you were constantly sort of like messing up, if you will, Friday through Sunday. Remember, Monday through Friday afternoon is not that much longer than Friday afternoon through Sunday night. It's really not. So if you're leaving a third of the results on the table, you're getting that CD effort. You're likely around 65% adherent with your targets. And last I checked, that is D quality effort, yet you're wanting those A and B results. You're not going to get them, right? Just like if you're at a vending machine and you see something costs $1.25 and you only put in $1, do you think you're going to get the thing that you're trying to pay for? No. You're just going to be frustrated with yourself that like, why the hell is this thing not coming out of the vending machine? I put in $1. Well, because you can't just put in $1. You have to put in $1.25 if you want the thing that costs $1.25. If you want A results, you have to put in A effort, not putting in C or D effort, okay? So when you're relaxing those rules Friday night through Sunday, that's a time when you're, again, leaving results on the table, and it's likely because you're too restricted during the week. So this, to me, if you feel like you have to just let the wheels fall off every weekend and start over Monday, it likely means you're being too restricted during the week. So I see this a lot from people, especially when we're starting the new year. They're like, yes, I'm gonna get into the super low calorie diet, or I'm going keto, or I'm going intermittent fasting. And so again, Monday through part of Friday, they're doing the damn thing, right? They're crushing it. They're eating 1,200 calories a day. Like, yes, I'm eating next to nothing. Oh, I'm doing so great. You know, they're weighing themselves in Monday, then maybe again on Friday. And they're like, dope, I lost 3 pounds this week. That's awesome. I can allow myself to relax a little bit over the weekend. And here's what happens. You put it all back on over the weekend because maybe you ate 1,200 calories Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, part of Friday. Then you hit a happy hour Friday night. Then you go out to brunch Saturday. You go out to dinner Saturday night. Sunday, you're lazy, you're hungover, so you order Uber Eats or you hit the Taco Bell drive-thru, and you have all of a sudden eaten extreme excess of that calorie deficit that you were producing throughout the week. So here's where I'm going to tell you, you shouldn't be eating 1,200 calories a day. You shouldn't be eating 1,400 calories a day. You probably shouldn't be eating less than 1,800 calories a day to be starting off if you want to actually have long-term success with losing body fat. Anybody can lose weight, you guys. Not everybody can lose body fat. And that's a whole other conversation for another day. But again, if you're eating 1,200, 1,200, 1,200, 1,200, 1,200, then all of a sudden the weekend rolls around and that 1,200 on Friday turned into, oh, well, I had 1,200 more because I went out for a happy hour that night. Plus, we just ate a bunch of bar food. Oh, Saturday, you're eating 2,400 calories again. Sunday, maybe you're eating 2,000. Okay, like overall, when you get back on the scale Monday morning, you're right back where you were the previous Monday because you thought you were eating in a deficit. You were Monday through Friday when you weighed in and you lost 3 pounds by the time you got to Friday, but then you put it back on because you ate enough calories to be maintaining your weight with all the extra calories you ended up eating on Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday. So you thought you created a calorie deficit, but guess what? You undid it over the weekend because you were too relaxed with your quote unquote rules. Why were you too relaxed with them on the weekend? Because you're too restricted during the week and you need to not have such harsh rules. Okay, next up, another reason why people are ruining their diets on the weekends, boredom, right? You're turning to food for entertainment, for distraction, or simply because that's a habit of yours, right? Like you have the habit of just, oh, on Saturdays when I'm at the house and, you know, I'm just sitting on the couch, I just grab, you know, a thing of popcorn or a thing of chips, or we just always go and get fast food. Like it's just what we do. Great. Whatever you've always done has given you the results that you've always gotten. So don't you think you need to change something in order to get new results if that's what you want, right? So if you're bored, find something to entertain yourself, and that entertainment should not be food. Here's the thing. If the problem is not hunger, the solution is not eating. If the problem is not hunger, the solution is not eating. So when should you be eating? When you're hungry. What kinds of food should you be eating? Well, that's a whole other talk, but we're going to say that again, if the problem is just boredom, then why would the solution be eating? It's not. If the problem is boredom, you need to find something to entertain yourself, and food is not there for your entertainment. Food is there to nourish you, to fuel you, to have you performing optimally as a human being, you couldn't do it without it, believe it or not. So make sure that if you find yourself bored and you're grazing through the kitchen, you start flipping the switch on that bad habit that you've set. I myself have definitely been guilty of this in the past. Like I said, I've been guilty of all of this in the past, and it's not foreign to me now that sometimes it does creep back into my life. So if you're bored, this is when I suggest you find something that you can entertain yourself with, like meeting up with friends, going for a hike, going for a walk, cleaning, tidying, organizing. Even yesterday, my husband was like, "Oh, what are you doing?" Like all of a sudden, randomly yesterday morning, I decided I needed to clean out my hall closet. Why? I don't know, but it was a great distraction because it kept me from wanting to go like mindlessly eat things because I wanted to go out to a great birthday dinner last night. So I needed to save a little calories for that. But find something that you know needs to be done that would be a much better use of your time than eating. Because again, eating is not getting you anywhere if the problem is not you being hungry, okay? So what other types of things can you think of that you could potentially distract yourself with if you find yourself bored and being that person who gravitates towards boredom eating? Figure it out. This would be a great opportunity to journal about those things, right? Because maybe you're like, oh shit, I notice that whenever X, Y, or Z happens, I get really bored and I tend to go eat this, right? Like once you can actually admit to yourself and create that level of awareness, that's huge. That means you're at least identifying that this is a problem of yours. And now you just have to figure out what are some steps I can put in place to be sort of a barrier so that I'm not continuously doing that. And this can even look like, hey, I catch myself wanting to go mindlessly eat. What's something else I could do? Oh, I could go call my friend or call my mom or call my sister, like whatever that looks like. Distract yourself with a human being or an activity, but do not let food be the thing that you distract yourself with, because then it's very easy to just mindlessly eat hundreds and hundreds of calories of something like chips or nuts or popcorn or what have you that is just hanging out in your kitchen. And another reason why we see people ruining their diets on the weekends, fatigue. Okay. So your weekend days, those are times when you might feel just more tired because the entire stressor of the week as a whole has caught up with you. You finally had a chance to sort of slow down and you're like, huh, all right. Like I can actually breathe, but I'm feeling a little like stressed out, overwhelmed. I can now relate to all, I can now identify all these things that went wrong over this week, and that can kind of catch up with you. And guess what feels really easy to just fall back on or lean into? Things like comfort foods, right? We think those comfort foods are going to make us feel better because we're so exhausted and stressed from our day-to-day lives. So what can you do to sort of overcome that? Well, you can have a much better schedule for yourself on the weekends. I find that for me, myself, I do really, really well with making sure that I am having a pretty similar wake up and bedtime on the weekends. So this is something I actually talked about with somebody recently. I can't remember, it must have been a client or somebody where if you are somebody who has a dramatically different waking and bedtime over the weekends compared to your weekdays, it's like you're putting yourself through a state of jet lag every single weekend, right? So think about that. Every time you decide like, oh, I'm going to stay up 2 hours later on the weekends, but it's okay because I'll also sleep in 2 extra hours. You know, instead of going to bed at 9 and getting up at 5, I'm going to stay up till 11 and I'm going to get up at 7. You're putting your body through like as if it had been in a 2-hour time zone change. So this means every weekend, if you're in Mountain Standard Time where I'm at, it means every weekend you're putting yourself in East Coast time and you're screwing yourself up come Monday morning, right? Like you have all of a sudden just ruined whatever sort of progress you were making throughout the week because now your body's on this different clock. Your circadian rhythm is now being thrown off simply because you didn't stick with those similar waking and sleeping hours. So really, really important to keep as close as possible consistency with your sleep schedule on the weekends compared to the weekdays. Yes, I understand things are going to come up here and there. And every weekend, you shouldn't necessarily have to have something that's changing your bedtime. I would say that is one of the struggles that I myself have had these past several weeks with all the travel and stuff we've had. It's different time zones, it's different social functions, it's just having like no sorts of normalcy when it comes to a regular schedule. And so now that I'm home for a few solid weeks, I'm really, really focused on being consistent with that sleep schedule so that my body can get back to like thriving and understanding what my circadian rhythm needs to be balanced at so that I can get that good recovery that I need. Okay. So other ways that we can sort of stay on track with your diet and exercise routine over the weekend. So you can plan and prepare those healthy meals ahead of time. So for example, this morning, while I was waiting to get on a call, I had about 30 minutes of downtime. I had thawed out some beef in the fridge a day ago. And so what did I do? I made sure I just cooked up that beef so that my husband and I both have an easy protein option to grab to throw into meals over the weekend. So literally just threw it in a pan with some salt, pepper, and garlic. And now we've both got some quick and easy protein that we can simply throw in with plants and carbs throughout the weekend to have some quick meals. So, I've got things like my veggie bags in the fridge. I've got asparagus. I've got Brussels sprouts. I've got my frozen veggies like green beans and broccoli. Great. I can easily combine any of those veggie sources with some beef, and I've already got the solid foundation for a meal. Then I can throw in some extra carbs somewhere. Maybe it's microwave rice. Maybe it's some mashed potatoes that I've still got. Maybe it's toast or bread or whatever. But again, when you have those solid things just prepped and ready to go, it makes your life so much easier. And this is where I see a lot of people struggling is they food prep for the start of the week, but they're not doing another food prep closer towards the end of the week to get them through the weekend. So for me, what this usually looks like is I do a little bit of food prep Sunday or Monday, make some protein options in bulk, do some veggie options in bulk, and then usually around Thursday or so, that's when I'm starting to lean on my frozen veggies. So maybe on Sunday, I'm cooking asparagus and I'm cooking Brussels sprouts, awesome, but I run out of those after a few days, great. This is where I go grab a bag of frozen broccoli out of the freezer and let it thaw. Grab some frozen stir-fry veggies, let them thaw. Frozen green beans, let them thaw. Maybe I ran out of protein options. Awesome. So I go get some of my frozen shrimp and I let it thaw. So again, you're running out of food by the time the weekend rolls around. So that's one of the big reasons that you're screwing up on the weekends. So what can you do? Just a second little mini food prep to get you through the weekend. And the great news is it probably doesn't need to look as robust as it did at the start of the week because you're probably going to be attending different social events and stuff. So instead of needing breakfast, lunch, and dinner, well, guess what? You're probably going to be able to make your breakfast on the fly over the weekend. You're probably going to be going out to dinner on Saturday night or Friday night. So that's like one less meal you have to prep for. And then you can just have easy things on hand, like the bagged salads with that protein option that you cooked or defrosted / thawed, whatever. You can have bagged salads, you could make sandwiches, and you're at home, probably have more time than you did during the work week, right? So give yourself that opportunity to prep a few things, but also know you'll likely have time to actually cook meals at home on the weekend when you're likely not at work for 8 hours. Okay, next, stick to a consistent eating schedule. So I just talked about having a consistent sleep schedule. You should also have a consistent eating schedule so that, again, you're not getting thrown off with your regular times, right? So that it makes the weekends as similar to the week as possible, because if you had success during the week, wouldn't you want to reproduce or continue with that success over the weekends? So I find this with one of my clients. She is notorious for under eating on the weekends because she's just like busy cleaning house or just being lazy around the house, and totally cool. That's fine. Like, do whatever you normally do, but if you have to, set an alarm on your phone so that you're eating your normal 7 a.m. breakfast or whatever that looks like. You're eating your normal noon lunch or whatever that looks like. And then, yeah, I hope you remember to eat dinner before you go to bed, but try to keep those eating schedules as well as your sleep schedules as similar as possible during the week and the weekends. Tip number 3, you're not going to like it probably, but guess what? This one is fucking you up more than you care to admit, and it is your alcohol consumption. So a top way on how to stay on track with your diet over the weekend is to limit your alcohol intake, right? If you took it out entirely, you'd probably notice a lot of great things happen for you. This has been the common scenario I've seen with a lot of my clients who did things like dry January this year. They're like, I just feel so much better without it. And then they'll like add it back in for a social event or something. Like I had a client this past week. She had some alcohol at Super Bowl and at Valentine's Day. And she's like, yeah, I'm going dry the rest of the month. Like I was feeling so good. And this just reminds me, like, I don't feel good and I don't make the kind of progress I want to make when alcohol is a part of my life. So again, it's not something you have to cut out entirely, but being a little bit more moderate with your approach. So doing things like having a drink and then having 16 ounces of water, having a drink and then having 16 ounces of water. Like that's one of the best things that you can do to limit your alcohol intake. And also go into these events telling yourself, hey, I'm only going to have, this many drinks. And I typically say a great cutoff is like 3 or fewer drinks in any sort of setting, just to, again, keep it down to a minimum. And best bets for alcohol, things that are already like pre-made, like a spiked seltzer or a beer, those can be good because at least there's not going to be excess calories when it's already in its own can or bottle. You should be able to look at the label and know exactly how many calories you're consuming. Whereas if you're having mixed drinks, that can be tougher, especially if somebody else is making it for you, especially if you don't have a great bartending background like myself and know how to like actually pour reasonable amounts of liquor in a drink. So again, pre-made drinks can be better just because you're likely going to know exactly how many calories to account for. But if you're going to have like liquor or something, I typically prefer to have a clear liquor. So vodka, very low calorie. Tequila, very low calorie. And then you can mix those with a 0 calorie mixer. But again, you're going to want to make sure you're measuring it out. You're the one in control of the portions in order to keep those calories to a limit. Next, stay active through physical activities. So I believe I shared this in a YouTube video this week, and it's a YouTube video that's been here pinned in this group. And it talks about the fact that like one of the hosts on that podcast, that was one of his big hacks, is actually planning some of your workouts for the weekends, because we tend to be busier during the week. We tend to have more time during the weekends. So if you can get those workouts in on Saturdays and Sundays, that right there is already going to take up some time. So that's like, let's call it a 1 hour workout. That's an hour that you won't be sitting on your couch bored, wanting to board a meet. That's also setting you up for better decisions. Because I know for me, if I go do a workout, it tends to lead to better decisions with my nutrition, right? Like, oh, I worked out. Like, I don't want to go ruin that with like eating a bunch of shit food. I want to support my goals and fuel my body properly. And also working on the weekends is just one of those great ways to keep you in a better routine so that, hey, if I'm scheduling 8 a.m. workouts for myself on the weekends, that'll help me stay better on track with my schedule, with meals and with bedtimes and all that stuff that we already talked about with keeping a consistent schedule on the weekends, just like we do during the week. And so if going and doing a workout isn't your thing on the weekends, because you're like, nope, I have a really great schedule, I'm really diligent with it during the week, great. Plan other physical activities. Can you meet up with friends to go walking, to go hiking, to go snowshoeing, skiing? And can you have can you try to minimize the like calorie consumption in those activities, right? So always making everything centered around food or going out for drinks or whatever, that's not necessarily what we want to do. I know that's what people fall back on because they just love to be social with food and drinks. But if that's one of the things that's standing in the way of you making progress, then find other fun things you can do with your friends, with your family that involve being physical so that you're, again, burning more calories instead of sitting there and eating in excess of calories. Another one, avoid tempting foods and situations. So if you already know, like let's say you're somebody who is really focused on fat loss right now, and if you go hang out with these friends or you go to that event, it's going to really lead you to be tempted to make less than ideal choices. Maybe you just avoid it. Maybe this is a season of no where you say, hey, I would love that, but like I actually have got something else going on. Lie to them or find something else that you can have going on, because guess what? You can say no. You don't have to say yes to every single social event and obligation. It's not an obligation. You are an adult. You have free will. You can turn people down. You have to get rid of that FOMO. Your fear of missing out is one of the biggest reasons you're not making any progress. It's because you think that you have to attend every event because something amazing is going to happen and you're going to feel just devastated if you're not a part of it. I can guarantee you it's probably not going to happen. Like, you're not going to miss out on Justin Timberlake being at your friend's girls' night on Saturday night. It's just not going to happen. All right. Next up, keep healthy snacks on hand. So this goes along with the food prep thing, right? This is where I like to have my bags of veggies. So instead of sitting on the couch eating chips or popcorn or whatever, maybe I'm having my pre-made baggie of veggies. It looks like having easy things that you can just throw together. Like, okay, it's not the best choice, but maybe I just have like a protein shake and an apple. Awesome. How simple is that? You don't have to do anything to prepare it. It's just they're there, they're quick, they're easy. Maybe they're not a full-on meal, but they are a great snack to tide you over and give you an alternative in terms of making a better choice that is more healthy, if you will. Next, staying hydrated with your water. So making sure that you're not falling short on that water goal on the weekends. People are always telling me, I just forget. I'm so busy at work. Cool. What's your excuse on the weekend for not getting your water in? if you were too busy at work during the week, what is your excuse for not getting your water in on the weekends as well? Sounds like you have a lot of time to drink that water. So like drink the water. And one of my top hacks that I do every day is I fill this baby. It says it's 40 ounces. It's not, it's only 37. So I fill this, I drink that 37 ounces before coffee every single day, weekends included. Then I drink my coffee and I fill it again. And I get a lot of my water done before noon, before the day gets away from me. And I am a little bit too distracted. So I can relate. It happens to me too, but you just have to come up with those strategies that allow you to make sure you're getting in enough water. So if you're somebody who is drinking like a gallon of water a day, I know that that's one that's just kind of, a lot of people tend to have that as a goal of theirs, which is great. That's my personal daily goal. One of the easy things you can do is just fill a gallon jug of water or go buy one at the store, whatever, and empty that throughout the day, right? Like refill this water bottle with your gallon jug of water so you never have to even guess, did I drink a gallon? No, you'll know, hey, I need to finish this gallon, so I better start chugging. Another one, avoid eating out at restaurants, or at least minimize going out to eat, right? This is, again, one of the big things we see coming into play with a lot of people. And actually, Coach Liz and I will be talking about this next week, where you have sort of the if it fits your macros approach versus the actually eating quality foods approach. So with people, we see people going out to eat a lot. They are at restaurants, they're at fast casual restaurants, and they're like maybe tracking the nutrition facts and everything that's on the restaurant's website or something. But guess what? Those can be inaccurate. Why? Because the servers at Chipotle, I can guarantee you, they're not perfectly portioning out and weighing all of your ingredients on a food scale like the nutrition info would lead you to believe. If you're at a restaurant, they're constantly adding in things here and there because they want the food to taste good for you, so you keep coming back for more. They're not like, oh, I know Susan can only have 300 calories in this chicken, so I'm going to make sure I perfectly portion it and I don't add any extra oils or anything. No, they want the food to taste good. And guess what? They can be up to 20% inaccurate. So think about that. That's if you saw something that was like 500 calories listed on a menu, it could potentially be 600 calories, right? Because it can have a 20% fluctuation and the FDA isn't going to do anything about it. And that's if, again, we're perfectly portioned and weighed and measured. And I guarantee you it is not. They're not doing that for your meals. Okay. So if you can, try going out to eat no more than 1 to 2 times a week max, you guys. This again includes fast casual, fine dining, no matter what. The more ingredients you yourself are in control of by putting those foods that you cooked yourself or you purchased yourself, even if it's from like a meal prep company or something like that, you're going to have a much better idea of exactly how many calories you're putting in your body. Last couple coming at you. So use smaller plates so you can control your portion sizes. So that is something super important for a lot of people, is like they're just having too much food. So maybe if you use a smaller plate, that would help you out. I would say for me, that wouldn't work for me because I eat a lot of like high volume, big foods that take up a lot of space on my plate because I love having a lot of food. The difference is my big ass plate full of food is going to have things like a big ass salad with like 6 ounces of chicken with probably some extra ingredients that just really bulk it up. And maybe my big ass plate full of food is 400 calories, but it's got 40 grams of protein and it's got 20 grams of fiber, whereas somebody else could be eating on a much smaller like side plate. And guess what? You could have 400 calories on that little plate of very little food. Why? Because you could have stupid things like a serving of chips taking up 150 calories. You could have, let's see, like a hot dog, which is not going to have much nutritional value, for like another 150 calories. So we're looking at like 300 calories from some chips and a stupid hot dog. And then let's add on the bun to the hot dog, another 150 calories. That right there is like 450 calories. And you're probably still hungry and you got absolutely no nutritional value. There is very minimal protein and there is probably zero fiber in that hot dog with a bun with chips. I know that wasn't the best example, but like it might be. Maybe that is somebody who's actually watching this. They're like, yeah, that's not very much food. I eat stuff like that. And you probably think that, oh, well, it can't be that many calories because it's on this tiny plate. And you probably look at my food and think like, holy shit, that's got to be a ton of calories. It's so much food. Quite the opposite. I'm eating a lot of food for very little calories. You might be eating very little food for very many calories. Okay. And the last one, keep a food diary to monitor your intake. So whether you have goals or not, whether you actually know how much protein or fiber or carbs or fats or calories you should be eating, the first level of awareness is just tracking it so you can create that level of awareness. So again, if you can just open up an app like MyFitnessPal, start using it, start tracking every single BLT, aka bite, lick, or taste that's going in your mouth, it is very eye-opening how all of a sudden you're going to realize, I had no idea I was eating that much food. I thought I was eating nothing because I don't sit down and eat 3 full meals a day. But really, if you're grazing throughout the day, all day, and you're just putting random shit in your mouth, candy here, nuts there, a handful of chips there, you're probably eating a lot more calories than you really realize. And that's where you're probably losing a lot of goal or a lot of progress that you could be making. So anyways, that's what I want to talk about today, you guys, with how the weekends are ruining your diet. I hope those tips are helpful for you. If you're somebody who actually wants to do this, like you want to track your food for a good solid week to 2 weeks, I would love to give you some feedback on your food logs. So if you made it this far, and you're somebody who's like, hey, I need to start creating awareness with my food and what I'm putting in my body. If you start tracking in MyFitnessPal, you start weighing and measuring everything, and you get 1 to 2 solid weeks of data, I would be happy to just give you any feedback on your food logs that I possibly can to help you figure out where you can make some improvements, because that's kind of what I love to do, and I'm pretty good at it. So anyways, I hope this was helpful for you guys. If you have any questions, comments, feedback, let me know. And if there's something else you want me to start posting about, keep me in the loop. But next Thursday at 6 p.m. Mountain Time, Coach Liz and I will be going live in here next week to talk about why you can't just be doing IIFYM if it fits your macros and not focused on also getting in good quality foods with your macros. So anyways, have a good one, and don't let the weekend ruin your diet this weekend. Let me know how it goes.